Dan. Ready? The meeting invitation indicated that we should start at 10 and we want to be prompt. So I asked the company secretary, Diane, do we have a quorum?
Chairman, confirming that we have a quorum present today for today's meeting.
Thank you very much. For all those who may not know, my name is Gary Peart. I'm the executive chairman of the Supreme Ventures Group. Board of directors, shareholders, company secretary, regulators, our external auditor, PwC, special guest, Mr. Jerry Mute walks in as I say special guest. Welcome, Jerry. Jerry is a member of the Mute family, the largest shareholder in SVL. Members of the media, everyone who has joined us today remotely via live stream, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to our annual general meeting. We always look forward to this opportunity to reflect on our performance of the past year and to share our plans for the future with you all. Today's session, we will give details of our 2024 financial performance as well as provide insights on our strategic initiatives and goals. Our AGM notice along with a proxy form on all accounts and reports necessary for the conduct of this meeting were published on our website, the Jamaica Stock Exchange's website, circulated via email to our shareholders for whom we have email addresses, and by registered mail to shareholders without email addresses. AGM advisories were also published in our local newspapers. Shareholders may view a copy of last year's AGM minutes on our website. I wish to introduce the company secretary, Ms. Diane Reed, with an O, and ask that she confirm that the required quorum of shareholders has been met.
Chairman, I confirm that there's a quorum for today's meeting.
Thank you. I now propose to call the meeting to order and move that notice of the meeting be accepted and taken as read. I need a seconder. You moved to late Lanzel. A young lady in blue behind you put up her hand. Could you stand and tell us your name, please? Sorry, Marva Gilmore? Thank you, Marva. Lanzel, don't worry, there'll be another chance. You know, my marketing team gets very upset with me when I go off script, but you know, better than vex. So, just to clue in, we're going to end today with a very special treat. It's going to be led by our honorary deputy chairman, Mr. Ian Levy, and we're going to ask two shareholders to join him in that special event. Those two shareholders I am proposing should be chosen from the shareholders who ask questions today. I know put the motion before the meeting. Please signify by raising your hands. Those in favor of starting the meeting? Those against? I declare the motion carried, so we now have to do the annual general meeting. I now invite Ms. Krista Gay Fisher, the CEO of Supreme Ventures Services, to offer a word of prayer. Krista?
Good morning, everyone. I would invite you to stand and join me in prayer. Dear Lord, as we gather today for our annual general meeting, we seek divine wisdom and blessing upon this session. We lift up SVL in prayer, asking that it may flourish and grow in ways that honor both our commitments to stakeholders and our calling to serve the broader community. Grant us the vision to operate with environmental stewardship and social responsibility at the forefront of our mission. Lord, we pray for clarity and moral courage for those entrusted with leadership responsibilities. May our choices reflect principles of truth, ethical conduct, and divine guidance as we chart our path forward. We ask for your protective care over all who contribute to SVL's mission, all the members of Team Supreme, our loyal retailers and customers, and our partners whose efforts make our shared success possible. Finally, we humbly ask for your continued blessings and guidance as we navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead as our company expands. We place our trust in you, Lord, and ask for your grace and blessings upon this meeting and upon our company. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Krista Gay. I want to recognize and thank the members of the main and subsidiary boards for their dedicated service to the company. And I now recognize the following directors who are here this morning. I'd ask when I call your name, you just stand and do the Queen's wave. Mr. David McConnell, Mr. Nicholas Mute, Mr. Brent Sankar, Walter Scott, Walter is probably in court, Matthew Kent Levy, Leighton Matt Knight, Director Emeritus Ian Levy, and a very, very special and warm welcome to Mr. Audley Morris, Director of IBET SV Ghana. Thank you for making the journey. We really appreciate your presence here today, Audley. Let me also acknowledge those directors who are unable to be physically present with us, but have joined remotely. Director Duncan Stewart, Director Christopher Berry, and Director Lance Hilton. Apologies on behalf of Directors Earline Anderson, Damian Chin-Yu, Peter McConnell, and Honorable Usain Bolt, who are unable to attend the meeting physically, or today, or online. Since our last AGM, we've made some changes to our leadership team, with some members being promoted and new faces being added. I will now ask the members of the Supreme Ventures Limited team in the audience to stand and be recognized. Krista Gay Fisher, who's our newly appointed CEO of Supreme Ventures Services Limited. Krista. Mr. Stefan Miller, who's the acting CEO of Supreme Ventures Gaming Limited. Morning, Stefan. Mrs. Tanya Smith-Anderson, our newest member, who is our SVP for People and Corporate Services. Hi, Tanya. Ms. Danielle Douglas, who has been promoted to General Manager Post-to-Post Betting. Where is Danielle? Danielle is probably busy making some money for her. Smart girl. Or for us. And for the rest of the SVL team that's here, please stand so our shareholders can see you. These are your hard-working management team, fellow shareholders. I also wish to recognize the 2024 auditors, PwC, representatives from the Jamaica Stock Exchange, representatives from our regulators, representatives from our information and technology partner, formerly IGT, and now called Bright Star Lotteries. And Lisa Marie, their marketing, is the brightest star in here today with her pink. Where is our hot pink? Stand so we can see you. Bright Star, Debbie, get up. And Debbie, who's our wonderful partner. That's her team that she leads. As we recognize the senior members of Team Supreme who are present this morning, we must pause to acknowledge our friend and colleague, Preston Chin, former General Manager of Supreme Route Limited, who transitioned last month. Turn your attention to the screens for a tribute to Preston, whose dedicated leadership made him an asset to the business, and his gregarious spirit made him a good friend to us all. May I ask for a minute of silence? Thank you. Preston, we will miss you. May his soul rest in peace. The team at Supreme Route has prepared a token to express their affection for Preston, and so I invite his wife Vanessa and his children Emma and Ben to the stage to collect it. Ladies and gentlemen, after that emotional start to our proceedings, let us get into the presentation of our results. Our primary reason for being here is to reflect on our 2024 performance. However, as you may now come to expect, we saw it as an opportunity to not only tell, but to show you the vibrant universe of Supreme Ventures Limited. As shareholders, it's important for you to see, feel, and experience all the brands that make up the Supreme Ventures Group. From our online gaming platforms to our fintech solutions, SVL is continuing on our journey of developing into a true technology company, and we hope you felt that this morning. If you haven't as yet done so, please visit the Supreme Experience at the back of the room. If you win, give me some commission. Of course, we've gone a step further and elevated the Supreme AGM experience this year with an opportunity for everyone present here to win big. Everyone should have received a Supreme Scratchers ticket. Scratch them for a chance to win cash in a flash. But wait, there's more. If you don't win on the instant card, you have a second chance to win something special. Write your name on the back of your non-winning ticket and drop it in the box provided, and stay till the end for a surprise. So most people have scratched already, so I'm gonna share this with you. So the market research said, when men get the scratch card, they scratch immediately. When women get the scratch card, they put it in their bag and they go home and they scratch. And then stand behind and look to see if the man wins. You'll figure out why. So for the women here today, I would implore you to scratch now so that you have a chance, if you don't win, to get the second chance to win. 2024 saw us remaining focused on advancing our plans to further develop our online gaming and technology product offering. We continue to set the stage to deliver on the commitments we have made to you over the past years. As part of that process, we undertook key strategic investments aimed at advancing our digital evolution and moving us closer to being a full technology company. Let me remind you of the pillars on which we built our 5-year strategy: continuous innovation, global expansion, and delivering shareholder value. These three directional strategies remain relevant and important to our continued success. As part of our continuous innovation strategy, we have expanded our online product offering and our digital service offering, cementing our position as market leaders. We have seen a positive upturn in our business activities overseas, which we anticipate will continue to show growth. We continue to be one of the top performing stocks on the local stock exchange, continuously providing dependable value to our shareholders. We know with great success comes great responsibility, and so we'll still place emphasis on our philanthropic endeavors, further strengthening the SVL ecosystem and the relationships that have made the brand iconic. Of course, like most Jamaicans, we too felt the impact of Hurricane Beryl long after her passage. While it knocked us off our positive trajectory, at the end of the year, our results demonstrated that SVL remains a resilient company, one that our shareholders can be confident in. This morning, I am pleased to share with you the results of our year of resilience and look ahead to our ongoing technological evolution. After recording strong profits in 2023, SVL enjoyed an even stronger first quarter of 2024, with those 3 months outperforming the first quarter of 2023. Then came Hurricane Beryl, which affected the operations of a number of our retailers, particularly those in the southwestern end of the island, and the Jamaican economy in general. By year-end, we experienced a 27.26% decrease in net profit compared to 2023. Obviously, not what we hoped for at the start of the year. Notwithstanding the setbacks, the company produced gross ticket sales of $107 billion, a $54 million increase over 2023, demonstrating that our products remain attractive to our players. We continue to put the vast majority of our earnings back into the Jamaican economy. For 2024, listen to this, the group paid over $8 billion in fees and taxes to the government, multiple times our profitability. So to remind you, we made $1.7 billion, we paid the government $8 billion. That's a sweet deal for them. It's almost, what's that, 7 times, 5 times, 6 times? A portion of those fees are directed to the Chase Fund and represents over 90% of their overall funding, which goes back into funding the projects, as their acronym states, Chase, C Culture, H Health, A Arts, S Sports, and E Education in communities island-wide. The lottery segment, the core of our operations, continue to perform well, and we expect this trend to continue with SVL maintaining our position as the undisputed market leader. SVL remains one of the strongest and most valuable investments to our shareholder. SVL paid out dividends of 68 cents per share, and a total dollar payout for the year was $1.64 billion. Our pride in the positive ongoing impact that our operations have on the running of the society at large is immense and further motivates us to grow and strengthen our business. As mentioned earlier, even as we continue our technological evolution, we have not lost sight of our core Jamaican gaming and lottery business. Lottery and numbers games continue to contribute the lion's share of our overall results. In the meantime, sports betting continues to be the fastest growing segment in terms of revenue growth, growing to $16.4 billion, an increase of $550 million when compared to 2023. Following our strategic pillar of innovation, we have continued to invest heavily in our SV Games online betting platform. SV Games gives players across the SVL group access to all their favorite betting options, lottery and numbers, sports betting, and horse racing in one place. 2024 was a winning year for our customers. Whether they were playing in retail stores, at Caymanas Park, or online, they were definitely winning every day. Congratulations to all our winners, including those today. SCL has invested over $3 billion in Caymanas Park and its related ecosystems since leasing the operations in 2017. Since leasing of the operation, I have to get that right. We don't own it, we lease of the operations in 2017. The SVREL team has done a phenomenal job in continuously improving the operations of Caymanas Park for the good of Jamaican racing. Innovative bet types like the Reggae 6 continue to create millionaires. Last year, 95 millionaires were made at Caymanas Park, with over $6.4 billion being paid out. Despite ongoing investments and a focus on improving efficiency at Caymanas Park, the entity remains unprofitable. We believe in the industry, especially one that contributes heavily to the community and the Jamaican economy in general, and still see Caymanas Park as a fit in our gaming portfolio. Both the park and SVL would be better served if the park is fully divested to Supreme Ventures so we can take it on a modernization and a stronger profitability path. Nevertheless, the team continues to develop the product, and of course, the highlight of the year was the third renewal of the Mute Mile Invitational, which features the largest purse in the English-speaking Caribbean. The Wild West Wear theme took Caymanas Park by storm in December 24. I want to pause to thank the Mute family, who is responsible for the purse for the Mute Mile. If we didn't have that, we could not have been doing what we're doing. Thank you. Just to also pause and say that SVL has identified US $100 million to be spent over 10 years if we can convince the government to allow us the chance to modernize and develop Caymanas track. So any MP you see out there, please ask them, give SVL a chance to make Caymanas the pearl of the Caribbean. So let's take a look at the video of Mute Mile.
Fumble a bag, now I will not fumble a bag. Fumble a bag, now I will not fumble a bag. Act like you know how this goes.
This year's Mute Mile is set for December 6th, and the theme is Back to the 70s. We hope to see you there. Big heel boot and barefoot pants. As a company, we're never complacent, despite our position as the undisputed market leader. SVL is continuously moving forward, and 2025 will see even more enhancement of our products and services by leveraging our transaction platform and proprietary software to evolve into a full technology company. Saw what you did there, Heather. All our lottery, numbers, sports betting, and horse racing mobile betting products have now been integrated into one platform, SV Games. This gives our customers a chance to play all of our games at their fingertips and continues the company's digital revolution. 2024 saw SV FinTech leading the company's technological evolution with the rollout of additional products under our financial services brand, Evolve. With products like Evolve Bill Pay, Evolve Money Transfer, which is remittance, and Evolve Lend, which is microfinance. Our micro-lending company, newly renamed Evolve Loan Co., is developing a WhatsApp loan product which will be launching soon, providing even more convenience to our customers. So you can go on your WhatsApp and apply for a microcredit loan and get approvals. Our strategic investments will continue locally with Caymanas Park and overseas with iBet Supreme in Guyana and iBet SV Ghana. Even as we celebrate our company's resilience, we recognize our responsibility to give back to the people who contribute to our ongoing strength and solid performances. Take a look at some of the inspiring initiatives executed by the Supreme Ventures Foundation last year.
Since its inception in 2004, the Supreme Ventures Foundation has remained committed to leaving an enduring legacy on Jamaican society, transforming lives through meaningful action. With millions invested in community development and improving the lives of vulnerable groups, we've created ripples of positive change that continue to spread throughout our nation. When Hurricane Beryl ravaged sections of Jamaica in 2024, leaving families without shelter and hope, the SV Foundation immediately mobilized. Partnering with Food for the Poor, we delivered over 500 care packages to devastated families in St. Elizabeth. These weren't just boxes. They were lifelines containing essential food and personal items that helped families start the journey to rebuilding and recovery. A cornerstone of our legacy is recognizing everyday heroes across Jamaica. The Supreme Heroes Program, which was launched to strengthen the capacity of small business through training, saw the crowning of its second cohort grand finals winner, Miss Anisha Miller from Gordon Town, St. Andrew. Her selfless efforts in providing safe accommodation for students during floods and hosting annual back-to-school treats for children in need serve as an inspiration to us all. The third cohort of the Supreme Heroes Program was launched in 2024, and after nominations from the public, 5 finalists were selected as we continue to foster a cycle of impact that will endure. Believing that literacy opens doors to infinite possibilities, SVF volunteers brought the joy of reading to hundreds of students across Kingston, St. Catherine, and St. James during Read Across Jamaica Day 2024. Further empowering youth, our annual Junior Creators Robotics Camp brought over 100 children, including 50 from state care facilities, to explore the world of STEM. After the week-long camp, 4 outstanding campers were awarded educational grants valued at $50,000 each and were invited to make a special guest appearance on the CVM at Sunrise program to share their experience with the nation. Our 20th anniversary scholarship program continues investing in tomorrow's leaders, bringing our 20 university scholarship recipients together for our annual Pep-Up Luncheon. The students who were entering their final year of tertiary studies received mentorship, engaged in financial literacy workshops, equipping them with the tools to help them succeed in life after university. Health and well-being remain a key focus of our mission. Our annual back-to-school dental clinic provided essential care to over 100 children from Windsor Children's Home and Mustard Seed Community, many receiving their first ever dental treatment. Understanding that caregivers are the unsung heroes of the state care system, we honored over 40 dedicated men and women with a rejuvenating spa day, acknowledging their tireless dedication to their children. Christmas is the time for giving. The SV Foundation is proud to continue building a legacy of love and generosity with the Dream Supreme Charter Plane Ride. For the second year in a row, we treated 100 children from state care facilities and 20 caregivers to a special flight from Montego Bay to Kingston, leaving them with the gift of knowing that there are no limits to their dreams and to always dream supreme. Through transformational programs and initiatives, the spirit of volunteerism of Team Supreme and strong partnerships, our legacy endures and continues to positively impact Jamaica, land we love.
Big up the team from Supreme Ventures Foundation. They're amazing. It was indeed a great year for the foundation. We're very, very proud of those initiatives. We will continue to focus on these strategic areas that impact our most vulnerable in our efforts to make a real, sustainable difference in the lives of the people we serve, not simply provide handouts. It is important for me to make this point. Earlier you heard about the contribution that we make to the overall government agencies. You heard about the contribution to Chase. Supreme Ventures Foundation's funding is outside of all of that. So we're making a profit, we're paying the government 5 to 6 times what we earn, and we still have time to donate a portion of our profits to our foundation to also give back. It's amazing what this team is doing. We can't clap them. We've already completed the first quarter of 2025, and those results show that we've started the year heading in the right direction. The group recorded a net profit after tax of $500 million, representing a 40% decrease compared to the first quarter of 2024. Gross profit of $3.1 billion improved by $190 million, or 6% over the first quarter of 2024, attributable to growth in gaming revenues. This significant growth in our core operations relative to the this signifies growth relative to the prior period. The company's outlook is generally positive. On the local front, you've already heard about Supreme Ventures FinTech Revolution. We have officially brought on board our first third-party remittance retailers, with 12 more in the pipeline to support our 6 company-owned locations. So in basic English, we have a remittance license. We started with 6 of our own company-owned locations, and we now have approval to take on third-party retailers, and we took on our first last month, and we expect to grow that to over 200. SVL is also on an increased pace of profitability, as we have been granted an extension in our gaming license for another 30 plus years when our current license expires. The granting of this extension allows us to increase our pace of product development and innovation. We also expect to see unrealized losses in our equities from our investments in Dollar Financial and Main Event for the first quarter in excess of $300 million reverse itself by the end of the year. We'll also be breathing new life into the Supreme Scratchers with an exciting promotion in our coming months. So Mona can't stop harassing me. So we expect by August, we'll relaunch Supreme Scratchers. So the excitement you have here, you'll be able to go to any retailer again and be able to get your scratch cards. As it relates to our global investments, we're pleased to advise that iBet SV Ghana has become profitable. And if it continues on the same trajectory, this business is likely to surpass Jamaica within 2 years, the size and profits of that business. So I want to big up Audley and the team from Ghana for an amazing job. And just to put it in perspective, why this is so important. This investment, which had the full backing of the board, was a very bold step. We knew that there were significant risks, and we made this investment with our proprietary lottery software, with our own Jamaican employees and strategists. And we have been able to start from greenfield to profit in 18 months. It is amazing. This underscores our vision that Supreme Ventures can truly become a global company. And don't be surprised if maybe in the next 2 years, we may announce 5 or 6 other countries that we're in. But the team is ready. No more clapping? That's big, guys. I mean, when I saw the numbers, it was amazing. And, you know, it's just so wonderful to know that a Jamaican company can do this. And, you know, I made mention of Tanya, who just came on, and I've said to her, you're going to be one of the most important strategic assets that the company is going to have over the next 5 years, because we have to embark on making the SVL University. Oh yes, we have a university that we teach people about the SVL way. We're going to have to materially expand the SVL University, because as we go into other countries, we intend to ship Jamaicans to lead these countries. You will also have local partners, but ultimately we want to position SVL as a global company that is promoting its own people to all different parts of the world. So Tanya, I've said it publicly in the AGM, it's up to you. We're very proud of how the business performed in 24 and pleased with the current outlook for 25. It has really been an action-packed period, and the SVL team has been more than up for the challenge. I want to recognize every single member of Team Supreme for the role they continue to play in ensuring we continue to make strategic moves to stay ahead of the game. We're also gratified by our continued strong sales, proving that we do offer Jamaica's favorite games, as demonstrated by the retention of our market share. By strengthening our infrastructure and capacity, we've been able to realize the latent potential of all of our traditional core business lines. Sports betting continues to see exponential growth. Our digital universe has expanded with multiple products and channels, and all KPIs are showing positive growth indicators. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now at our favorite section, where you're able to ask your questions. Please make your way to the standing microphone and ask your questions. As you begin, please state your name and whether you're a shareholder or a proxy. If you're a proxy, please state your name and the name of the shareholder you represent, then go ahead with the question. Also remember my challenge. The shareholder that asks, the 2 shareholders that ask the most questions are likely to be selected for the surprise with Mr. Levy at the end. Members of the media, we have a special chat with a C-suite segment that will allow you to ask questions directly to the respective heads of subsidiaries. We'll be facilitating 5 minutes with each of them for you to ask your questions one-on-one. That segment will take place at the end of the resolution. Good, no questions. I can move on. Questions? No questions? Oh boy. David on his phone. Turn.
Oh, it's on now. All right. So,
Identify yourself.
I did mention myself, David was shareholder.
Oh, you didn't. Mic was off.
All right. So, the first question is related to the $3 billion bond that is set to mature in October. I recall at a previous Mayberry Investments forum where you were speaking, that you were waiting to refinance under better conditions as rate has to climb down. So what's strategy going forward into October for that refinancing?
Well, you got the answer. I mean, we're now in that space. So we're actively negotiating with several arrangers to roll the bond. Based on our cash generation, we have yet to decide whether we will roll a smaller amount or, depending on investment opportunities, increase it. But we're actively discussing the rollover now.
Understood. And are you seeking additional capital in the interim for working capital?
Sorry, go again.
Are you seeking additional capital in the interim for working capital?
At this point, no. So one of the benefits of Ghana being profitable now, as you have reported, we funded a lot of the initial build-out. And so with them being profitable now and being able to take care of themselves, that pull on our cash resources is slowing, if not ultimately stopping. Depending on how we see it, we might decide to leave the profits there to continue growing it. but at some point we'll start shipping back profits to pay down the debt. So because we're not sending monies there, and also Caymanas is doing better this year, we're generating significantly more cash. So when we finalize with the arrangers, we'll decide whether we'll reduce the amount of cash, or we can maintain the whole thing and just pay out more dividend, right, Mr. Levy? Yeah.
So to follow on that same query, earlier this year, it was reported by OER today that, 3 high-level executives, including the head of marketing, were separated. And then we saw the unfortunate departure of former Supreme Ventures Game CEO, Jesus Johnston. We've seen in the recent Q1 report a relatively significant increase in the operating expenses from 1.6 billion to 2.2 billion. So is that on the domestic Jamaican front, you're seeking to have a bit of cost containment, to shore up the bottom line?
So I'll answer you in 3 different ways. The first question, you reported that we were waiting for a better period to roll the bond. We have now achieved that. As you're aware, interest rates are lower now relative to when that report was done. So that has been successful. 2, we use the term head of marketing, head of finance, and I believe head of HR. But, a strong analysis would show that all those heads reported to a VP, who reported to an SVP, who reported to a CEO, who then reports to me. So how you brilliant reporters write, it gave the impression that the heads that were released were material, I won't say it that way, were much higher up and more integral in operations of the company than they actually were. So that's 1. That's 2. 3, a business is about continual efficiency. One of the hardest decisions we take in the company is a decision that may result in separation of our employees because they're one of our greatest assets. But at the end of the day, as a company that is seeking high growth platforms, is seeking to expand globally, we need the best of the best, and we need to continually improve the efficiency of the business. And we are continually assessing, because since we did that redundancy program at the group level or at the head level there, we have gone through each of the subsidiaries and we continue to right-size some of the other subsidiaries. There is a particular subsidiary now, I think, out at Caymanas, SVREL, Tanya, that we're going through that process as well. As it pertains to Jesus, as you speak about, one of the things, especially with my leadership, I try to surround myself with bright and brilliant people. But the downside of bright and brilliant people is that they're seen as bright and brilliant by everybody else. So they're continually getting opportunities. We do it because it forces us to grow the company fast enough to retain them. But sometimes the opportunities are so great, unfortunately, we can't keep some of them. So love Jesus to death. He resigned, we appreciated it. But the company continues. The company was never Jesus Johnston. It's not Gary Parrott. It's not Heather Goldsmith. It's not Tanya. It is Supreme Ventures. My time will come to an end, but there will be somebody else that fits into the slot. And what was most important, the moment the resignation was announced, as you would know, Stephen Miller, who was actually recruited by Jesus, was immediately appointed acting CEO. Since he has been appointed CEO, to his credit, the profitability of the company has increased. And I conclude my answer to you when you speak about the OPEX, because again, a proper analysis would show that the greatest contributor to that increase in OPEX was actually bad debt provision. So we have taken a look at our receivables and we have taken a non-cash impact for prudence on our non-cash, on our receivables. So as I said before, the company is generating significantly more cash now than it was in the past, which is why I alluded to the fact that we may very well reduce the amount of debt that we roll over. There's still some time and we have opportunities now. If some of those opportunities present itself, we may very well increase the amount of debt that we take on because our cash position is that strong. So it's simple. If you can raise money at 8 and 9% and invest it and make 30 to 100%, borrow more money. Yeah? And ultimately, depending on the pace at which we grow cash, we may roll over the same amount and pay more dividends to Mr. Levy and Mr. Mote. And yourself. I hope I've answered your questions.
No, it's fine.
Thank you.
So, earlier you mentioned two things from two different perspectives. You mentioned SBREL.
Yes.
And you mentioned the digital/fintech or finance side.
Yes.
So on the SBREL side, you mentioned it's unprofitable, and that's understandable based on...
No, SVRL is not profitable.
No, I know. I mean...
Oh, sorry. I thought you said it was.
No.
Right.
So, it's unprofitable at the moment.
Right.
And, in the past, you mentioned that, it's come down to different factors that are within and without outside of your control.
Yes.
One of them being the number of days that you are available to promote your races.
Yes.
I remember a couple of years ago, you mentioned streaming the signal to South Africa. I believe it was another market.
Yes.
So, first part of the question is, you mentioned earlier about mentioning 5 or 6 other countries on the gaming side, but for the horse racing side, is that you're looking to further sell that signal to other markets to further drum up interest in Jamaica?
So before I answer that question, again, it's another answer to your previous question. One of the challenges, if not the huge opportunity that we have, is that because we've moved to becoming a technology company, we're digitizing the business. So as you digitize the business, you reduce the amount of layers of administration to produce the end result. So the opportunity we have is that we need to grow our business so quickly so that the people that are no longer required in, for want of a better way, the analog business that we had, we can move them into different areas that we're expanding. Yeah? So, just to give you an example of, the talent within the group, we have just repositioned Chris Wills, who was running SVREL, and he's now in Ghana, getting broader experience, right? It's about trying to build the skill set of the people, right? And so whether it is horse racing, whether it is gaming, we need to build that skill set. That's why we've promoted and transferred somebody like Christel, who has done a great job at Acropolis and is now is in horse racing. So we want to get to a point where we have a cadre of employees that you can put into different parts. Obviously for them it's important because, compensation increases, value increases, because the more money we make, the more we can spend. SVREL is a very interesting creature. Right? And so last year, they lost almost $400 million. I made the point that if they lose that again, we're going to give back the track, and I'm very serious about it. Because that $400 million is almost 20 cents in dividend, which I'm sure we all would want, right? We see a path to profitability on Caymanas. We believe there is a space in the SVL products for horse racing. But in its current setup, it is not ideal. And so, we've been speaking to members of government, we've been speaking to stakeholders, etc., because the importance of SVREL is real. And some of the things that we can do there, as you pointed out, right now I have 80 race days, but I have 365 days of expense. I only get 80 days of revenue. We have a plan that potentially turns Caymanas into a 24-hour facility that is consistently generating revenue every hour of the day. So for example, when we put lights into SVREL, it becomes a 24-hour place. I mean, I could arguably move Coronation Market to Caymanas, and it's easier for the residents of Portmore. We can build a covered entertainment space. Their concerts struggle if it rains. If you put in place a covered entertainment space, you can reduce production costs 40%, etc. There's so many things. We have 50 acres on the infield of Caymanas. But again, we're currently under lease. We can't get financing on leases, right? But we're going to we'll hit down the standard, we build a nice 12-story building with penthouses on the top. You're not going to buy the penthouse, David, I'm going to give you a lease. You buy a penthouse if you get a title. There you go. So there's a lot we can do. And as I said, whether the government, whoever the government is, it's a plan that we have. And as I said to the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition, I shouldn't be the one that is coming to them to say, let me do this. They should be coming to us to say, guys, find $100 million US to make this investment work, right? So the conversation is going, and I mean, if you can assist us with it, David, I'd really appreciate it. And, we go down the road. You're a shareholder. So, I mean, I ask all shareholders, any government representative you see, say, give you a chance, give you a little boss, right? Because it not only benefits Portmore, it benefits the country, etc. So, Caymanas is important, but we're digitizing the business, right? There are certain things that we have to look at. We have invested in solar in Caymanas. Initially, we saw a reduction in the light bill. Because of electrical issues, you can't hook up to the stables, so it's not as efficient as it should be. But as I said in a thing before, you find out that, people are running the business out of the stable. But SVRL provides free light, free water, free waste management, right? And, but what you will hear is that we need to increase the purse. But when I look at my light bill is now increasing annually above inflation, right? Because it's free, right? But the good thing is, I think the leaders of the stakeholder groups out at the track, they understand where we want to go. I think we're in a place where we're much more harmonious than we have in the past. And I think we're very close to a potential solution that will be beneficial to everybody. The stakeholders out at Caymanas, the government, the people of Jamaica, SVRL, and most importantly, you, the shareholder.
No, that's appreciated. So, the other part of the question was in respect to the finance side, because you said it over multiple years. SVRL is a gaming company. It's a technology company with gaming on the side.
Yes.
And you've been expanding into different modalities. So you have the PIN code business already there, and you're adding on finance. And now you're adding on these third-party retailers, onto the remittance platform. And I know that you said that you've been trying to add more retailers for the utility or bill payment side.
Yes, yes.
So what is the end-all vision that you endeavor for the finance side of SVL? You mentioned the chatbot to pay for loans and microcredit. You mentioned remittance. You mentioned, bill payment. What's the end goal in that whole universe? And Supreme Ventures large within Jamaica.
There's no end goal. I mean, with digital improvement and technology, there's no end. I mean, it continues to improve. So as I said, we now have proprietary technology that allows us to do a loan on the phone. If you speak to Audley, which I'd encourage you to do, right? Audley buys and sells lottery in Ghana on a telephone, right? When you go to Ghana, you walk into the market, you see Miss Burrow go over and look on the fish, and she light the fish, and then you see she motion to the fish vendor, and then pick out the fish, and then you see she take out her phone, and the fish vendor you realize they're giving her the short code, and she puts in her thing, and she click the button, and then the vendor pick up their phone, and they're like, oh, okay, and put it down, and she wrap up the fish, and they go. That's in Africa. That's how they conduct business. 30-odd million people. You go to Kenya with 50 million people, that's how they do business. You go to Tanzania with 61 million, that's how they do business. You go to Nigeria with 200 million people, that's how they do business, right? So if we were to bring that here, so we have the technology to be able to do that, but we're not approved to do that here as yet, right? And so when you look at our business, David, the size of the lottery is approximately $500 million US. Every 1% that we save drives $5 million US to the bottom line. So that's what digital and proprietary software does. So we don't have to pay to a third party. We earn all of that income, which we amortize over the cost of developing that tech. And that's the future. When you speak about the end game, we have to be in a position to be able to afford to create and modernize the tech and the software, which is why the extension is so important, because now I can amortize the cost of developing these things over a longer period of time. So we're driving technology in our remittance business. We're doing it with our proprietary software. We have a proprietary bill payment software. You know, we're coming with a proprietary loan payment. So we see that that's the future. And the future is that these margins are going to continue to compress. So if you don't own your technology, you're not going to be competitive.
No, the reason why I asked about, just the end goal is because for our Cambia business, the major benefit is not necessarily just the spreads, but the fact that you get access to FX, which, allows for you to do other things if you so please. And, when it comes to my credit business, it's a natural fit for SVL's large geographical footprint of more than, I think it's more than 10,000 retailers, or...
Right.
So that's where the query was coming from.
No, but what I'm saying to you, we've passed that. The businesses that you see operating in Jamaica right now, the pace at which the margins are compressing is because of technology. So when you speak about foreign exchange spread now, in developed markets, your foreign exchange spread is less than 10 basis points. So Jamaica, you still have people that can make $3 and $4. But believe me, like how the sun will rise tomorrow morning, that spread is gonna fall because people are fine using technology to give you, the consumer, more. So when we get up to our full potential, being a customer of SVL is going to create significant value and benefit because that's the future. Remember, we currently have an app, SV Games, that you can go on your app and play all of our products. A very interesting market research. A lot of people who want to game don't want people to know that they game. So the rate at which our online business is growing is pretty amazing. And we don't pay commission on online business. We pay 5% commission on our terrestrial business. Remember what I said, each 1% you can save, you earn 5 million US. So connect the dots.
All right. Then,
thank you, David. So David is a lead and front runner to join Ian Levy.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm very good. Please identify yourself.
I am Carrie Berry, a shareholder.
Yes.
Sir, I'm reading a Gleaner article here about Supreme Ventures, and I see I'm not sure if it's you. When you look at Africa, major events attract 100+ attendees, even in the markets with lower income levels than Jamaica. This article is dated March 2024. So the question that I wanted to ask you, when Supreme Ventures partners with, two questions. The first one, when Supreme Ventures partners with companies like Main Event, and is there any push to export the Jamaican reggae product in that light? I mean, I know that's outside of your scope because we're gaming and lottery and horse racing. Is there any...
It's not. We're an entertainment company as well.
You're an entertainment company?
Yes.
Okay. Because the Jamaica Tourist Board has been doing a lot of things to bring tourists here.
Yes.
So are you also involved in that push to bring people here? I mean, I'm asking you proprietary information, so you should...
No, I can give you a very interesting question that actually manifested itself less than 2 weeks ago. Heather, I can tell the story. Thank you. So we've spent an inordinate amount of money building the Mute Mile. So whilst I give thanks to the Mute family to assist with the purse, putting on the Mute Mile is almost $100 million, wow. Right? And what has happened is that we have been speaking to sponsors over a period of time. And, dealing with sponsors, etc., or getting sponsorship for new stuff is very difficult, right? Donovan White, who runs the Jamaica Tourist Board, right? Good friend, very upfront guy. He came to the second launch of the Mute Mile. And he got up and he said, when this thing came, he wasn't really interested in it because he gets a lot of requests and whatever. So we found a way to get a little sponsorship. And he stood up and he had a piece of paper, and he said, you know, I'm into numbers. And he said that when they got back the results, the Mute Mile generated $90 million in value.
Wow.
They had given us a 1.something million sponsorship. You know, immediately I'm like, you have to increase that, right? Gave us 90 million in value. We had a discussion with all of our sponsors after the last Mute Mile. Bring them in, you know, what you thought, what was good, what was bad, da-da-da, etc. Donovan comes and says, listen, we need to get closer to you guys. Because in essence, he now has created a channel to get tourists related to horse racing. Now that he has understand the ecosystem, right, we're now trying to bring him closer to our friends at Naira and Fox. And we're now discussing doing a launch of the Mute Mile in New York, where Donovan will bring his travel agents because he feels that there's a segment of tourists that they can attract to the country because of horse racing. So we are an entertainment company, and we have been running pilots trying to understand that space. That is another major success that we have had. For this year, again, which blew my mind, we now have at least 2 sponsors that are now giving us cash for the Mute Mile. Big up Salah, Heather, the team, right? Because now it is seen as an event that people needs to attend. Last year we had somebody that bought 60 tickets at $75,000 a pop. And they're already calling to see if they can get more tickets. We now added the 25 to 35 age group where we announced that the Zimmy party, etc., they had put up a tent just to say that they're going to have the party in the new year. And after 6 o'clock, all the old fogies like me leave, and then the youngsters just went over to the tent, and they were there until 1 o'clock in the morning. And we rented, the first time we got our third-party rental on the infield, we rented to the Zimmy party. And it was a smashing success. We're now getting requests to rent the infield, which is another source of income. Yeah? So this is what the whole SVL group is about. And the reality is that each subsidiary we have in the group has an amazing growth potential on their own. This is outside of gaming, right? So we're trying to build, our biggest issue right now is to build bandwidth. We need to get people who understand these different ecosystems so we can build the value in those ecosystems. And as I said, I have a talented group. As I said, we built Ghana from scratch, it's now profitable. We built the Mute Mile from scratch, and we now have we now have sponsors that want to come on board that are now giving us cash, right, which would allow us to make it bigger and better.
Fantastic. Sir, that's amazing. So I'm going to see busloads of tourists heading.
Well, interestingly, Donovan is now telling us about his vision. And he said his vision is that he wants to come to Caymanas and see more tourists at Caymanas than locals.
Yes.
So the man will take over the company.
On a completely different note now, you spoke about the technology that exists in Africa, about the cashless system.
Yes.
And there's a book, Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the psychology of money is, all of us that we have, is something that it's brought up based on the parents that we have and the time, whether they're brought up in an inflationary time or not. It's just psychology, sir.
Yes.
It's just psychology, whether you get the technology here or not, and for them to understand that their spending decisions and spending behaviors is as a result of their environment and how they grow up. Sure. Morgan Housel, it's The Psychology of Money. It's a very good read.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Anna Richards, and I am a shareholder.
Welcome.
Thank you. I am excited, and I hope you guys get the situation with Caymanas Park. I hope you guys get it.
Thank you.
Okay, so my question is, could you please confirm the tenure associated with Caymanas Park if awarded, and whether there's an option to purchase the property in the future?
We currently have a 30-year lease with an option to extend for another 30 years.
Okay.
Yes.
No, under this current.
Under this current lease?
No, but if the one that you're trying to get awarded.
No, we're seeking to purchase the property.
Oh, you're seeking to purchase?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So it would no longer be a lease.
Okay, thank you.
Nicola Borough shareholder.
Hi, Nicola.
Hi. I guess my question might be mitigated by the previous shareholder, as Caymanas seems to be the hole in the bucket, so to speak. How much longer is the lease that you currently have?
Well, it's a follow-on. We would, if you assume we activate the option, it would probably around 54 years. We won't be here.
But from what you said, I don't think you want to activate another lease, because what do you do with a leased property? You said you wanted to build it out more.
Yeah.
Full divestment.
So the reality, Nicola, is that the lease was predicated primarily on a key point. We were mandated to invest $500 million over 5 years. We're north of $3 billion. But what's required to really get it to a point that it makes sense, I don't think you as shareholders would agree to that plan. Yeah? And so, it's basically two choices. We can just continue to maintain it, where you try to keep it close to break even or a small loss, and it does not get to its full potential. I think what every stakeholder wants is to see something that is materially giving back to the country, growing value, and is sustainable. And what's required for that is what we're pushing for. Yeah. So if we get it, right, then we can mobilize significantly more resources, right? Because it's easier to find funding for what people have. There's so many opportunities. We could package it, do an IPO, every stakeholder get a piece, blah, 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 etc., but it's owned. And then however we do it, we get the funding and we go down the road and make it into what we think we can make it into, right? But in its current state, there are requests that are being made that, the money I'm putting into Ghana, as I said, on its current trajectory is bigger than Jamaica in less than 2 years, right? So why would I spend even $1 on Caymanas?
Gotcha.
When I'm growing at that, that's where I want to put all my resources. But if Caymanas is a structure that makes sense, as I said, we already have identified the funding over 10 years to really move it to where it needs to be, which will benefit everybody. And the key point about Caymanas, horse racing is a dying sport in the world. Caymanas is one of the few tracks in the world where that investments is taking place. One of the biggest horse racing owners in the United States is Stronach Group, right? I don't know if you follow horse racing. You know what Triple Crown is?
Yeah.
The second jewel in the Triple Crown is the Preakness. The track that the Preakness is run at is called Pimlico. The Stronach Group just sold it to the state of Maryland for $1, and the state of Maryland is investing $400 million US to upgrade it. They have now moved horse racing to Stronach's second property, which is Laurel Park, until they upgrade Pimlico. When Pimlico is upgraded, they're going to shut down Laurel Park and develop it as condos. The Stronach Group own 2 racetracks in California. They've shut down one and sent everybody to the bottom one. So remember, California is like the biggest state in the United States, right? And they shut down one, sent everybody to the other one, and they're building condos. They've put people on notice that Gulfstream in Florida, they're looking to shut it down next year. And they're going to build condos. Right? There are several racetracks in the United States that are being shut.
So if there is no, if there's no real divestment of Caymanas Park, it's a dying business.
Yes.
And
the hotel I stay at
in
in Accra, the Kempinski, you can check it. was the last racetrack in Ghana.
So
The same thing I hear people say. You had called in the United States, the people are complaining about purse, etc. The man just get up one day and say, I notice we're closing Calder. They don't open back since. In Ghana, the same thing. When I spoke to the president that was in charge, he said, well, you know, they all complain that we won't survive, whatever. He got this bid from a hotel guy, and he's like, all right, we're going to sell them the land. You horse racing stakeholders decide where we must put the new racetrack. And that was 18 years ago.
So in our case, since it sounds like it could be a win-win, win for who, I'm wondering.
Win for everybody.
What would hold back the government from going, giving you the go-ahead for this bigger divestment future that you see? We need to raise GDP. Hello, I mean.
Yeah, I get it. But
I don't quite understand what.
Yeah, but there are processes, and I mean, that's actually my work. My work is to bring harmony to everybody. My work is to sell, to show everybody that it can work, right?
Right.
And if it works, I mean, who ultimately controls the government? We the people. So if we the people control the government and we think that this is in their best interest, because that's the reason I'm speaking about it. I'm not quietly in some back door trying to do a deal and get up one day. I don't want that. Yeah. I'm putting it out there. We are the stewards. If somebody can come in and lose $4 billion over 5 years, hey, here's the key.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem.
Right.
Right? But we're there. And like everything we do in Caymanas, yes, not Caymanas, in SVL, yes. For a couple of years, which was 2024, we have carried subsidiaries that are loss-making, but we don't see them as loss-making. We see it as an investment, right? We had our strategic retreat when Ian used to be on the board. And at the strategic retreat, I did an analysis and I said, listen, we have two choices. We can shut down all the subsidiaries and we just milk the lottery. And every year it grows at 5 to 10%, and you just collect dividends, and you're good. But if you truly want to build a business, we have to diversify in these different places. It's going to cost you some capital, but you're going to get it right, and then we move. And if we get it right, the company will be growing at 40% per annum for a very long time.
Okay.
Right? The board decided that we're going down this route. I mean, it has been tricky at times. I mean, Ghana was a really bold move, and it really tested us. But we had the resolve and the belief in the team, and they've come through. And as I said, we're now at a space that if we can continue doing what we're doing, right? When I say it can be bigger than Jamaica, let's put it into perspective. Jamaica has 3 million people.
Yeah.
Ghana has 30 million people.
Yeah.
So if we're making 20 million US in Jamaica, and proportionally you build out and get to that point, I'm not saying we're there or we did it, right? You're talking 200 million US. You know the dividend. You know what our dividend look like at 200 million US profit, and that's just one country, right? So that's the bet, for a better word, that we take. But we've done a similar bet in fintech because we think we can come into the remittance market and get a reasonable share. We're doing the bill payment. We've gone into Ghana. We've not been as successful, which is why we're so excited about Ghana. But we see a path to profitability in Ghana. Once we do that, we're now in a position to do one or two things. We can either go into a country and set up our own lottery, or we can go into a country and rent our software, which is less risk.
Yeah.
But every time we do that, it's accretive to earnings. So that 200 million is now 400 million, is now $1 billion US, is now 10 billion US. You can't dream like that if we say, boy, we're just going to focus on Jamaica.
Yeah, gotcha.
My 2 cents.
Good luck with your negotiations.
Thank you. You can help me though. When you see them,
I'm not that connected. You're much more connected than I am.
It don't matter. Whenever I see them, just like, give them a bus now.
Okay, bye.
Careful. Yeah, so just some clarification from some of the points you made earlier. So when you mentioned, Donovan mentioned the $1 million investment, that was USD for the Mutemao?
Donovan?
No, you mentioned Donovan earlier. You mentioned a $1 million
Donovan
sponsorship.
Donovan is JTB. No, so the original sponsorship we got was 1.something million. Jamaican. Gee, Bridget, if I get $1 million US, man, oh God. Muti mile in Ghana, Guyana, the whole wide world.
No. So,
Yeah, it was $1 million Jamaican, but it's now, they have increased it. I mean, they see the potential now. They really do.
No, and to follow up earlier, in your earlier presentation, you mentioned a $100 million investment over time with respect to Caymanas.
US, 100 million, yes.
So just to follow up on that, is it that you've already submitted a formal request to the relevant ministry or body about purchasing?
Yes, we have written to the landlords.
Understood. And, in terms of that whole push, for growing Caymanas into the vision you see it, you mentioned, the need to actually own the property and everything else in between. So, would it, let's just say you potentially got the opportunity to purchase Caymanas, would it be a case whereby you try to amortize that payment for the property over time because of the potential cost for it, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's accounting. It depends on what you want to do. So, I mean, if you bought it, I mean, land and buildings depreciate. So one of the things we would immediately do, you would move to hitting down the existing stands. It's there for 50 odd years. You'd build something that's more modern. So you probably put up, say, a 12-story building. You have penthouses at the top. You have BPO. You have a fully integrated food court, etc. I mean, what we're doing, we're building awareness for Caymanas. I mean, shockingly, I didn't know this, but I appreciate it. There are people who don't know where Caymanas Park is.
I know, I've been there, sir.
You are invited. Any shareholder is invited on a Saturday. Just send me advance notice. We'll host you, food and drink all day. It's an amazing day. And so we're building awareness, right? So for example, the team is thinking of putting out food truck day. We're on a particular day, probably at the end of the month. You invite the vendors, you bring some guys, some Hellshire, etc., and eat food. And so that's something where people need to get comfortable coming out to Caymanas. There's a section of Caymanas that's fully grass that you can have picnics. We can put together picnic bags, you come, you pay, we give you a picnic, you sit on the grass, and it's a very nice place, right? But you need people to be aware and to come there and want, because that's what Caymanas used to be, right? There's a race that's circulating, I think, on TikTok, the 1981 Derby that Royal Dad won. And when you watch that race, just look at the billboards right around the track. And the companies that were the creme de la creme of Jamaica at the time, every single one of them had advertising and sponsorships out at Caymanas. So we're building that back, and that's the importance of the Mute Mile, right? And the Mute Mile has attracted. I'm not asking like I had to tell me no. There's a particular sponsor that we said, hey, will you come back? And the guy said, listen, come back. The brand is owned by a foreign entity, and them right and said to us, you make sure you don't lose that sponsorship, because we understand it's the richest horse race in the Caribbean, right? And we want to always have that sponsorship. So that's where it has gotten to. And so we just need to build on it.
So just probably final two queries, you mentioned about the subsidiaries sometimes facing losses or relatively compressed earnings. Is it that for Evolve, from Michaela, you're going to just be a heavily digital first?
There's a fine in Supreme every time you use the word Michaela. The treasurer fines us $100. It's called Evolve Loan Company.
But the thing is it going to be heavily a digital first approach, or is it a case whereby
Both. You'll never get away from terrestrial. In the same way, you'll never get away from cash. There'll always be cash. There'll always be a retail location. But digital is going to have a greater percentage.
No, because you mentioned chatbot, feature that you're building out for applications of loans and everything, but, Michaela is a relatively small
$100.
fish in a big pond. Apologies, Evolve is a
No apologies, $100.
Evolve is a small fish in a big pond.
Right.
So, wouldn't it be better to consider a potential partnership with another firm and, Evolve just provide a technology kind of approach to that partner?
We could. I mean, there's no hard and fast. I mean, we could always look at that strategy.
No, and just a final query, I remember looking back at the covenants of the recent one I did for Ghana, you have like a 3.25 maximum debt EBITDA cap.
Yeah, but 3.25, my EBITDA now, not only what's my EBITDA? I know my equity is 5 billion.
Your EBITDA is around 4 billion from last.
My EBITDA, my EBITDA is actually about 3 billion.
Well, the annual report said $4 billion.
Yeah, 4 billion. So 3 times that is 12 billion. My current debt is 8.4. It's been paid down. So I can actually take 4 billion more. What? You're not done, I can get 4 billion more.
No, the reason why I'm asking that query is, because you're mentioning all of these audacious goals, but it's just about how they're going to be funded, basically.
Yeah. Well, I can't spell everything out here, David, to be honest. I think I've said enough that people understand where we're going. But if you can just give us another break so somebody else can ask a question, and then you come back. I mean, you're definitely in the running for the thing.
Hello, Warren Hines, shareholder.
Welcome, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to make a few comments about Caymanas. Maybe you can...
Comments or questions?
Well,
it's a question and answer period.
Well, yes. Well, I'm wondering if we're doing enough to market Caymanas. I think in years gone by we had live racing on the radio. I'm not hearing it recently. Is it still live?
So what we have done, and again, it was one of the vagaries of the Jamaican market. In most developed markets, the media companies, radio, paper, whatever, they pay the racetrack for their content. When we came, we were paying them to bring our content, right? And I'm happy for that question, because I get to talk about Caymanas. When we took the decision to remove the signal, certainly off of TVJ, there was huge uproar, right? But we've since gotten 3 benefits. The first benefit, we realized that some of the betting companies who weren't paying rights fee were taking the feed from TVJ. So when it stopped coming on TVJ, they had to come to us. We took it off TVJ and we put it on our website. So we streamed it. So it's streamed on the website, it's streamed on YouTube, right? As is usual, everybody complained and quarreled and whatever, but after 1 month it was accepted, yes? 2, our feed is now viewed in 181 countries, either 176 or 181, but don't kill me, right? The numbers are in excess of 500,000 people. We're now in a position where, Heather and her team are now speaking to experts in the area where we're now moving to selling advertisement, because the numbers that we get on our streaming, on our YouTube, actually exceeds some major media companies in the country, right? So the question about marketing, one of the things is about your ecosystem and what you're seeing. We actually look on the numbers. So when we came, we actually now have a materially larger reach at Caymanas than when we came. So for example, as usual, they complain about everything. So when we came and said we spent $1 billion, they can't see the $1 billion. Well, the reason they didn't see the $1 billion, we dug up the entire place and we put in cables that could bring a HD view. And we put in the cameras and nobody realized that what it was. But then when we turned it on the first day, everybody's like, whoa, we can see. One day it dropped, like 2 months later, because it's at pilot, you have issues, it went down. And everybody cussed you off, wanted a pretty picture, right? It's now standard. But we had to move to HD because we had plans to export, and we could not export using the technology we had. And so we now earn revenue from that export. So long story short, our signal is going through doing, but we are benefiting from it now. So there isn't a racetrack in the US that doesn't know about Caymanas, because we have most of them now. For example, this year, we finally got the first legal feed from Churchill Downs, which is the biggest horse racing entity in the United States. They control Kentucky. And it came after some really interesting negotiations because there was some bad blood or whatever. But again, we were able to deal with that, and we now have their feed, and the feed that we're getting from them has materially increased the revenues because of the tracks that they have, right? Unfortunately, the increase we have gotten from that is being offset by tracks closing. You know, so it's a work in progress.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wesley Thomas, shareholder.
Hi, Wesley. Welcome.
What are you doing to attract younger people into this, in this madness which you're doing? Yeah? Young people.
That is what keeps us awake at night. That is our number one challenge that we face. Because even with our primary product, the demographic gets older and older. We will be launching, we have launched in a limited way, but there are some new games that we'll be launching that is tailored towards, you know, attracting the younger demographic. But again, in building a sustainable business, you know, we have to appeal to everybody over 18. We understand the metrics that they're looking for, and we have some solutions that we do. You see, what people need to appreciate about Supreme does not sit back and just watch what happens. I mean, Supreme started in 2001 with 2 games, Cashpot and Lucky 5. We now have, according to Heather, 11 products, 11 lottery products. So we're constantly looking at market research, and this is with our team at I might get $100 now, at Brightstar. The amount of money we spend on market research is ridiculous, but we always try to understand where the mindset of the consumer is. And it has resulted in us creating and putting these products into the marketplace. It just doesn't happen like that. So we're constantly innovating, and our position is that we prefer to disrupt ourselves as opposed to allowing somebody else to disrupt us, right? But the issue with the younger demographic is a worldwide issue across gaming companies. So again, we have advisors across the world that we speak to, and we go to different conferences. So we're actively working on it. We think, well, I believe this one will be a very good solution for them, but we'll see how it goes over the next 3 months. Sure. Oh no, I thought she was going to ask a question. Oh, you're questioning her? You can come to the mic. Oh, sure, not a problem. You can arrange it with the marketing team. But again, any Saturday, we want people there. And one of the things we do when you ask about marketing, we've deliberately invited like the football team, the netball team. We invite a whole bunch of people, Miss Universe, etc. Right? And I mean, people get excited when they see these people. Where Caymanas is coming from, guys. Right? Heather is trying to tell me enough of question and answer. So where Caymanas is coming from, right? People used to fly their private planes from Hanover, Westmoreland, St. James, and land on the infield of Caymanas, park it, play polo, and when they finish, they go in their planes and they fly back to the other end of Jamaica. That's the kind of money that used to be here. Jamaica used to have a racetrack in every parish, right? In the 80s, if you wanted to do business, you had to go to the North Lounge of Caymanas. And you couldn't get in there if you didn't have on a suit. That's where we're coming from. And we believe we can, if we get the bus, we can bring that back. Maybe not a suit, but you will bring that back where you have these different places. And I'll conclude the answer to say this. This is not just a pie in the sky. We have spent a lot of time looking on horse racing tracks across the world that are profitable. And the number one horse racing track in the world is the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Japan is coming very quickly, but the Hong Kong Jockey Club, right? We look at their lines of revenues, and they have like 5 or 6 key lines of revenues, right? And the only one that we have that is sustainable is betting. Australia is not a big area, a big track, and betting revenue represents less than 5% of their total income. In Australia, 50% of their subsidy comes from the government, and the track still loses money. But we're looking at the Hong Kong Jockey Club because they generate the largest revenues out of horse racing. If you add up all the horse racing tracks in the Eastern Hemisphere, it probably works out to about 30% of the total revenue of the Hong Kong Jockey Club. These guys do like 13 billion US a year in revenue, right? So they have a strategy that works, and we think is something that, obviously we won't get there as yet, but we've met with them, and there's something that's called Whirlpool, that they need 5 things for you to qualify for Whirlpool. We have 3 already, and we'll get there. But if we get Whirlpool status, just to get Whirlpool status, your betting revenues jump to 200 million US. Okay, you attract people right across the world, and once you have Hong Kong, you get the blessing from Hong Kong, you're good to go. So there are a lot of things that can happen, and I mean, it would just just change the whole ecosystem. We don't even talk about the land surrounding the place when it happens. So, hold on to the real estate and Waterford, etc. One last question, Heather, or so David, is your last question, or then burn out? Go ahead.
Good morning still. Yeah,
Yep.
Denise Williams, shareholder. Question. There's a lot of real estate in your annual report about Caymanas, but very little about, I bet, photos or information about the markets in Ghana and Guyana. So I may have come in late and I may have missed that, but I'm not seeing it here in the annual report.
Denise Williams, Audley Morris, our director from IBET SV Ghana, with his Ghanaian garb.
Okay, so I'm to ask him questions.
You can.
Don't ask you nothing.
You always can ask me questions. The simple answer to your question is that, I mean, as you would know, an annual report, you focus on your main revenue items and as you go down. And as at the end of 24, Ghana never fundamentally qualified, etc. I don't think you'll ask me that question for the 25 annual report.
Okay.
So it's a function of, the marketing people and what they think will get there.
Okay.
But we have no problem, telling you more about what happens in Ghana. I mean, don't get me started on it because I'll speak the rest of the day, because I just think it's phenomenal what happens there.
Yes.
Yeah. But certainly in the periods to come, as I said, the rate at which it's growing now, if it continues on that rate, you might be surprised one quarter we might have to give a profit warning before the quarter ends.
Okay.
Because if it moves, somewhere it moves to becoming material, we have to advise the stock exchange because you don't want shareholders selling and then you see this massive profit after, right? I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that it could happen because let me put it in perspective for you. We did a promotion in Ghana in October last year for 3 weeks, and we got 500,000 people. That's more people than play our games here in Jamaica. And that 500,000 is less than 10% of the market potential, right? So if you're able to get to a point where you have these people playing consistently, I try not to think about those numbers.
Okay. And the very generous offer for shareholders to go to Caymanas for them to be feted.
Not just shareholders, they're friends. It's not generous, they own it.
Well, but I'm asking if you will do that in Ghana as well.
Oh no, I will invite you to Ghana. You can fly, you can play your airfare, you can take care of your hotel, you can do all of that. I can tell you where you can go. You know, I can give you all the places you can go in Ghana. But I will say this to you, I didn't say no. And the reason I didn't say no, I mean genuinely, Denise, if the team is going to do what I think the team can do, I believe SVL is in a position that if we execute how we should execute over 5 years, we could single-handedly reverse the trade deficit in the country.
Okay, interesting.
Right? And that is what drives us. Because if we are making the kind of money here in Jamaica on the population we have, if we're able to get licenses in countries that are 10 to 20 times, you're going to amalgamate them over time, right? The numbers become ridiculous, and you're doing it digitally. So your operating cost is almost next to nothing.
All right, so you'll be based in Ghana and spread digitally.
You see, people are focused on Africa, but it's the world, their continents. We get opportunities right across the globe.
Okay.
You know, so if we get to a point where we're making the kind of money that could happen, it's not a problem for key. Well, you won't be able to buy the stock, eh? What does that look like?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, good morning. I am Natasha. Go ahead, Jim.
Hi, Lorna. Before you ask the question, Heather is having a conduction, so we will only take 2 more questions after this. Heather is saying 1. Heather says 1. The boss says 1. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I want to be a hero. A hero, heroine. At the back, they say, I am a supreme community hero. How do I become one?
You're a supreme what?
At the back of the book, I am a supreme community hero.
Oh, supreme community hero. How do you become one?
Yeah.
Heather?
Become one.
Let's call it Ayatollah. Mrs. Golson, could you answer that question, please? How do you become a supreme community hero?
Heroine.
Oh, I think so. Good morning, everyone. To become a Supreme Community Hero, we have a public nomination period. So you can check our Instagram page at Supreme Ventures Foundation. We're not currently taking nominations because we have a cohort that we're working with now, but we'll be open up by next year. So follow us on at Supreme Ventures Foundation. We also have our Supreme Ventures Foundation website. It's a public nomination, so once you're a micro-entrepreneur, somebody who is giving back to your community, you can have someone nominate you or self-nominate, and of course we select based on the criteria that we have.
Thank you, Cloline. Cloline is one of our young bright sparks in marketing. Good morning.
Is it still morning? Yes. Sorry, I'm stand corrected, sir, because I'm not an accountant, and I've just changed my glasses, so I don't know if I'm seeing very well.
I'm here in the same boat.
You too? All right. Page, I see, is it one, I see where your net profit has fallen, is that correct?
Yes, it fell 40%.
That almost $1 million?
Yes, for real.
That's a cause for concern.
It was, yes.
It was or it is?
Was. It gone.
The situations have been corrected?
Yes.
Well, the share prices is falling, so I'm not seeing it.
It's a good opportunity for you to buy. You might not see this price again in a long, long time.
I'll leave this space for you, sir.
Me?
All right.
No, so let me answer you properly. Let me answer you properly. The biggest drivers for the fall in the profits, we had a bunch of subsidiaries that we have been investing in, and there have been various delays in getting the associated revenue. So for example, your remittance business, you need the approval of the central bank to do certain things. And you know, they take their time to make sure we get it right. But in the interim, you have to be paying people and in other words, put them in a get-set position so that when you get the approvals, you can service the customer. So that took a little time. So we've been carrying losses in fintech for a while. And so now we're pretty happy because we're now getting the approvals. And so as we go along, so for example, 6 months year to date, the loss in fintech is less than 50% of the prior year loss. So we expect them to be profitable this year. Caymanas had lost a lot of money. We have made major changes out there. So we changed personnel, we changed strategy, and we're seeing a turnaround. It's still not profitable year to date, but it is materially, it is losing significantly less money than last year. Guyana hasn't been what we want, but we have actually, again, year to date, we're losing less money than we saw before. We have been working on our receivables. We took a major provision on our receivables, which I had explained earlier to David. So a lot of those things, we have worked through, and year to date, not only are we having less losses in those subsidiaries, as I reported, several of those subsidiaries are now profitable, with the biggest one being Ghana. So as I said, it is tremendous hard work. It's not just cost cutting, but also revenue expansion. I have to thank the team, because they have grown over time. So Stefan has stepped up, he's done extremely well. Krista, Nadani, who is the one that keeps us all sane, and we always cuss her because we think our numbers not telling the truth, but it's the reality. So the entire team, has been working extremely hard, and as I said, the results year to date have been, has been very, very pleasing. And so as it pertains to the stock price, I won't say much, but I will say to you, it's a good price to buy.
Every chairman says that, sir.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so.
Well, I suggest you expand in Ghana. I know some people down there who will be willing to come on board.
No problem. Send me their information. We love to speak to people. Okay, no problem. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that brings an end to the question and answer. We're going to move to the presentation of the audited accounts. I will ask Carrie Russell, representative from the audit firm PwC, Chartered Accountants, to read the auditor's report on the accounts for the year ended December 31st, 2024. Carrie. I don't think we have a choice. Let's ask Carrie. I mean, I'm all in support of it, but you have to follow the law.
As far as I'm aware, we need to read the full opinion.
Oh boy. Oh, so before she starts, I noticed only 2 scratch cards in the bowl. Now 3. Sorry, Carrie, go ahead.
All right. Hello, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. Independent Auditor's Report to the members of Supreme Ventures Limited. Report on the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements. Our opinion. In our opinion, the consolidated financial statements and standalone financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated financial position of Supreme Ventures Limited, the company, and its subsidiaries, together the group, and the standalone financial position of the company as at 31 December 2024, and of their consolidated and standalone financial performance and their consolidated and standalone cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with IFRS accounting standards and with the requirements of the Jamaican Companies Act. What we have audited, the group's consolidated and standalone financial statements comprise the consolidated statement of financial position as at 31 December 2024, the consolidated statement of comprehensive income for the year then ended, the consolidated statement of changes in equity for the year then ended, the consolidated statement of cash flows for the year then ended, the company's statement of financial position as at 31 December 2024, the company statement of comprehensive income for the year then ended, the company statement of changes in equity for the year then ended, the company statement of cash flows for this year then ended, and the notes to the financial statements comprising material accounting policy information and other explanatory information. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with international standards on auditing ISAs. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements section of our report. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Independence. We are independent of the group in accordance with the International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, including International Independence Standards, issued by the International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants, IESBA Code. We have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the IESBA Code. Our audit approach. Our audit approach. Audit scope. As a part of designing our audit, we determine materiality and assess the risk of material misstatement in the consolidated and standalone financial statements. In particular, we considered where management made subjective judgments, for example, in respect of significant accounting estimates that involve making assumptions and considering future events that are inherently uncertain. As in all our audits, we also address the risk of management override of internal controls, including, among other matters, consideration of whether there was evidence of bias that represented a risk of material misstatement due to fraud. How we tailored our group audit scope. We tailored the scope of our audit in order to perform sufficient work to enable us to provide an opinion on the consolidated financial statements as a whole, taking into account the structure of the group, the accounting processes and controls, the industry in which the group operates. The group comprised of the company and 18 other components, 4 components representing inactive entities, of which we selected 10 components for testing. Full scope audits were performed for Supreme Ventures Limited, Supreme Ventures Gaming Limited, formerly Prime Sports Jamaica Limited, and Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited, as they were determined to be individually significant based on a risk or size and represent the principal business units within the group. All other entities individually represent less than 15% of the group's profit before taxation. Additionally, based on our professional judgment, Supreme Ventures Services Limited, Supreme Route Limited, formerly Binga Investment Limited, Supreme Ventures FinTech Limited, formerly Supreme Ventures Services Limited, Makela Financial Services Limited, Post-to-Post Betting Limited, IBET Ghana Limited, and Supreme Ventures Stakeholder Trust Limited were selected, and procedures were performed on specific accounting transactions and balances due to the significance or risk to the consolidated financial statements associated with certain individual amounts. All the in-scope components were audited by PwC Jamaica. In establishing the overall group audit strategy and plan, we determined the type of work required to be performed at the component level by the group engagement team and by the component auditors. The team members of the component audit teams performing the full scope audits were also the same as those on the group engagement team. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in our audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements of the current period. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements as a whole and informing our opinion thereon. And we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. We have determined that there are no key audit matters as it pertains to the standalone financial statements in our report. Key audit matter. goodwill impairment assessment at the group level. Refer to notes 2H, 42, 19, and the consolidated financial statements for disclosures of related accounting policies, judgments, estimates, and balances. Goodwill accounts for $2.054 million or 10% of the total assets of the group as at 31 December 2024. Management performs an annual impairment analysis over the goodwill balance. The recoverable amounts of cash-generating units have been determined based on value in use calculations, which result in a higher recoverable amount when compared to the fair value less cost to sell valuation model. We focus on this area as the assessment of the carrying value of goodwill involves significant judgment, estimation uncertainty, and is sensitive to changes in key assumptions. The key assumptions were assessed by management as being pre-tax discount rates, terminal value growth rate, and EBITDA growth rate in the terminal year. How our audit addressed the key audit matter. Our approach to addressing the matter with the assistance of our valuation expert involved the following procedures amongst others. Evaluated the accounting policies for any material changes, evaluated management's discounted cash flow model, including qualitative and quantitative analyses, and updated our understanding of the process used by management to determine the value in use of each cash-generating unit. Agreed the 31 December 2024 base year financial budgets to current year results and compared the previous forecast to actual results to assess the performance of the business and the accuracy of management's forecasting. Tested management's assumptions as follows. Pre-tax discount rate. We evaluated the reasonableness of management's determined rate by developing an independent expectation of the rate. Terminal value growth rate. We evaluated management's terminal value, whereby we developed a range of parameters using available market inputs and historical information and performed sensitivity analyses using these parameters to determine the reasonableness of management's assumptions. EBITDA growth rate. In the terminal year, compared the growth rates to historical EBITDA growth and evaluated management's estimated future growth rates, which included the assessment of management's business plans. Tested management's impairment model calculation for mathematical accuracy and considered the sensitivity of the calculation by varying the key assumptions and adjustments within management's forecasts. Other information. Management is responsible for other information. Other information comprises the annual report, but does not include the consolidated and standalone financial statement and or auditor's report thereon, which is expected to be made available to us after the date of the auditor's report. Our opinion on the consolidated and standalone financial statement does not cover the other information, and we will not express any form of assurance conclusion thereon. In connection with our audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements, our responsibility is to read the other information identified above when it becomes available and, in doing so, consider whether other information is materially inconsistent with the consolidated and standalone financial statements or our knowledge obtained in the audit or otherwise appears to be materially misstated. When we read the annual report, if we conclude that there is a material misstatement therein, we are required to communicate the matters to those charged with governance. Responsibilities of management and those charged with governance for the consolidated and standalone financial statements. Management is responsible for the preparation of the consolidated and standalone financial statements that give a true and fair view in accordance with IFRS accounting standards and with the requirements of the Jamaican Companies Act, and for such internal controls as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of the consolidated and standalone financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. In preparing the consolidated and standalone financial statement, management is responsible for assessing the group and company's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing as applicable matters related to going concern, and using the going concern basis of accounting unless management either intends to liquidate the group or the company or to cease operation, or has no realistic alternative but to do so. Those charged with governance are responsible for overseeing the group and company's financial reporting process. Auditor's responsibility for the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the consolidated and standalone financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but is not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with ISAs will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatements can arise from fraud or error and are considered material if individually or in aggregate, they could reasonably be expected to influence economic decisions of users taken on the basis of these consolidated and standalone financial statements. As a part of an audit, in accordance with ISAs, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of the consolidated and standalone financial statements, whether due to fraud or error, design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtain audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide basis for our opinion. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than one for resulting from error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omissions, misrepresentations, or the override of internal controls. Obtain an understanding of internal controls relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the group and company's internal control. Evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosures made by management. Conclude on the appropriateness of management's use of the going concern basis, and, based on the audit evidence obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists related to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the group or company's ability to continue as a going concern. If we conclude that a material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw attention in our auditor's report to the related disclosures in the consolidated and standalone financial statements, or if such disclosures are inadequate, to modify our opinion. Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained to the date of our audit report. However, future events or conditions may cause the group or the company to cease to continue as a going concern. Evaluate the overall presentation, structure, and content of the consolidated financial statements, including the disclosures and whether the consolidated and standalone financial statements represent the underlying transaction and events in a manner that achieves fair presentation. Plan and perform the group audit to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding the financial information of the entities or business units within the group as a basis for forming an opinion on the consolidated financial statements. We are responsible for the direction, supervision, and review of audit work performed for the purpose of the group audit. We remain solely responsible for our audit opinion. We communicate with those charged with governance regarding, among other matters, the planned scope and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in internal control that we identified during our audit. We also provide those charged with governance with a statement that we have complied with the relevant ethical requirements regarding independence and to communicate with them all relationships and other matters that may reasonably be thought to bear on our independence where applicable. Actions to eliminate threats or safeguards apply. From the matters communicated with those charged with governance, we determined those matters that were of most significance of the audit of the consolidated and standalone financial statements of the current period, and therefore the key audit matters. We describe these matters in our auditor's report unless law or regulation precludes public disclosure about the matter, or when, in extremely rare circumstances, we determine that a matter should not be communicated in our report because the adverse circumstances of doing so would reasonably be expected to outweigh the public interest benefits of such communication. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. As required by the Jamaican Companies Act, we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of our audit. In our opinion, proper accounting records have been kept so as far appears from our examination of those records and the accompanying consolidated and standalone financial statements are in agreement therewith, and give the information required by the Jamaican Company Act in the manner so requires. The engagement partner on the audit resulting in this independent auditor's report is Trisha Ann Smith de Silva, signed PricewaterhouseCoopers, Chartered Accountants, Kingston, Jamaica, 3rd of March 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Kerry. Only 7 tickets in on the ball, you know. I guess everybody else won. Diane? The Director's report on audited accounts for the year ended 31st December 2024 have been circulated. They have been in your hands for the customary period, and I ask that the meeting take them as read. Shareholders, we now move to the business of the meeting. I will now ask the Secretary to read the first resolution.
Resolution 1, that the audited group accounts for the year ended December 31, 2024, and the reports of the directors and auditors circulated with the notice convening the meeting be and are hereby approved.
Will a shareholder move this motion? Please state your name for the record. David went first. David Rose. Will a shareholder second this motion? Ms. Burrows beat the two, Nicola Burrows. I now put a motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried. I'll now ask the Secretary to read the second resolution.
Resolution 2, that the interim dividends of 30.16 cents per stock unit paid on July 16, 2024, 14.33 cents per stock unit paid on September 11, 2024, 6.96 cents per stock unit paid on January 16, 2025, and 4.55 cents per stock unit paid on April 11, 2025, be and are hereby ratified and declared as final on the recommendation of the directors, and that no further dividend be paid in respect of the year under review.
Will a shareholder move this motion? You win. Marcia Nichols. Will a shareholder second in B to David? Delroy White. I now put a motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried. In accordance with Articles 105 and 106 of the Company's Articles of Incorporation, the directors retiring from office by rotation are Messrs. Brent Sankar, Lance Hilton, Peter McConnell, and David McConnell, and being eligible, offer themselves for re-election.
Resolution 3A, that Mr. Brent Sankar, retiring pursuant to Articles 105 and 106 of the Articles of Incorporation, be and is hereby re-elected.
Will a shareholder move this motion? David Wynn, David Rose. Will a shareholder second this motion? Who's that, Wesley? Wesley, you move chair now? Wesley Thomas. Wesley, come in front of me so I don't miss him. I now put the motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried.
Resolution 3B, that Mr. Lance Hilton, retiring pursuant to Articles 105 and 106 of the Articles of Incorporation, be and is hereby re-elected.
You just raising your hand or play with you here. Sorry? No, we introduced them at the start of the meeting. Don't worry, I'll introduce you to them after. We have put on your glasses. Will a shareholder move this motion? David Rose, seconded. We give another David a chance. David McConnell. I now put the motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried.
Resolution 3C, that Mr. Peter McConnell, retiring pursuant to Articles 105 and 106 of the Articles of Incorporation, be and is hereby re-elected.
Will a shareholder move this motion? Yep. Delroy White, seconded. Marcia Nichols. I now put a motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried.
Resolution 3D, that Mr. W. David McConnell, retiring pursuant to Articles 105 and 106 of the Articles of Incorporation, be and is hereby re-elected.
Will a shareholder move this motion? Mr. Wesley again. Will a shareholder second this motion? So you're not clear to hear this time. And your name? Anna Richards. I now put a motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried. I'll now ask the Secretary to read resolutions 4A and 4B.
Resolution 4A, that the directors be and are hereby empowered to fix the remuneration of the Executive Director.
Will a shareholder move this motion? Patricia? Ramikin. Second? I can never see him. We need to borrow Patricia glasses. Second, I don't put a motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor? Those against? I declare the motion carried.
Resolution 4B, that the amount shown in the audited accounts of the company for the year ended December 31, 2024, as remuneration of the directors for their services be and is hereby approved.
Will a shareholder move this motion? David Rose. Sorry? Mark Anthony Barrett? Barton. And seconded by David Rose. I now put a motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor, those against, I declare the motion carried. Secretary will now read Resolution 5.
Resolution 5, that PricewaterhouseCoopers Chartered Accountants, having agreed to continue in office as auditors, be and are hereby appointed auditors of the company to hold office until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting at a remuneration to be fixed by the directors of the company.
Will a shareholder move this motion? David Rose. Will a shareholder second the motion? Marcia Nichols. I now put the motion before the meeting. Please signify in the usual way by raising hands. Those in favor, those against, I declare the motion carried. Ladies and gentlemen, we have concluded the formalities of the annual general meeting. However, there is still more in store for you. Members of the media, you'll be given an opportunity to chat with the C-suite. Please stay for that segment. For our shareholders and guests, staying true to our mission of making winners every day, we will now conduct the draw for the second chance Supreme Scratchers tickets. There's only 7 missing over there. Remember, if you have a non-winning ticket, write your name and contact number at the back of the ticket and drop it in the box provided. I will give you a minute to get your tickets in the box if you haven't done so yet. If you're wondering what the grand prize is, it's 2 VIP tickets to watch Brian McKnight and Drew Hill with Cisco at Live and Direct this weekend at the Constant Spring Golf Club. I'd like to invite Stefan Miller to pick the winner from the box. Stefan. And the winner is give me your glasses there. Sheldon Graham. Congratulations, come forward. Hey, come on. No, go on stage and shake him hand. Show you. As we celebrate with the lucky winner of a pair of tickets to the Live and Direct show, we invite everyone present today to celebrate with us as tomorrow marks Supreme Ventures Limited's 24th anniversary. I would like to invite Director Emeritus, Mr. Ian Levy, and one of the founders of the company to join me on stage for the cake cutting. And I would also like to invite 2 shareholders to join Mr. Levy in the cutting of our anniversary cake. So obviously number 1 is Mr. David Rose. He asked the most question. And for number 2, because everybody has asked 1 question, I want a consensus as to who the second shareholder should be. You can vote for yourself. First one to stage. Where's David? Come on. Come.
So we are coming with a force.
Wait, Heather, the cake. We need the utensils now. No, you. Whenever you're ready. After 3, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, we're at the end. We look forward to seeing you next year, and thank you all very much for coming out this morning. Enjoy your day.